everyone. My name is Brad Weinstein. I am the founder of Teacher Goals, and I'm excited because we are kicking off the school year. We're, getting ready. We're setting up our room. Some of us have started. Some of us are starting within a couple of weeks. So it's definitely a stressful and very interesting yet exciting time of year. So that being said, when we're starting our school year, we want to do it right. We want to set the tone from the beginning, and we want to make sure that we get off to a great start, or as great of a start as we can. And one of the biggest things that we want to talk about today, SEL. Like, how do we get the year started off right with SEL and some great strategies? So I'm going to introduce you to a author of an upcoming book, Unlocking SEL, and she's also the CEO of Unlocking SEL. It is Lana, rhymes with Donna, Penley.
Good job, Brad.
I had to say that just to make sure. But, we're so glad to have you tonight. So if you could tell us a little bit about yourself and the things we're going to learn about today.
All right. Welcome, everybody, and thank you, Brad. Thank you so much for this opportunity. My name is Lana Penley, coming to you from Charlotte, North Carolina, and I'm thrilled you're here. Excited to be presenting with you. Well, in my past life, I was a principal for more than a decade in Portland, Oregon, and now I'm a speaker, author, and small business owner of my company, like he said, Unlocking SEL, where we support schools with SEL solutions. And I'm fortunate that I get to travel around the country, just really helping educators build their skills in regards to social and emotional learning. Now, I know you are so busy and so much going on, but since you're here, I also know that you really value social emotional learning. So we promise to make sure that this is really worth your time. And you're going to walk away today feeling inspired and learn some new secrets and strategies that are going to help you start your year off right. Just like Brad said, the year is starting already. Well, the name of this training is Unlocking SEL, 3 strategies and secrets to get started right away. So let's get going. Here we go. All right. So just take a moment if you would like, and just if you would like to scan this QR code, it will give you a printable of today's training. So I just wanted to say that up front. So if you just take a moment, hopefully that will pull up if you have a phone nearby. And don't worry if for some reason that doesn't work. If you shoot me an email, I'll make sure that you get that. So where do we get started with this? Well, first thing I would like to know is, what 2 words describe how you feel right now? So if everybody would just go in the chat and just put 2 words about how they feel. And it could be 2 different things. It could be I'm excited and stressed, or I am feeling overwhelmed yet happy. So just in the chat, just put how you might be feeling right now. All right. And I kind of noticed that about myself, feeling I'm really excited about today and also a little bit stressed, right? Anytime we're doing something like this, it can be a little bit challenging. So one of the things that I have found that really helps is to begin with some breath work. It can be super powerful and super helpful. So as you probably know, breathing supplies our body with oxygen, and we need that to flourish. And here's the issue, both physical and emotional stress can alter our breathing patterns. How many of us knew that, right? But we know that with breath work, this age-old practice, that it can really help us just calm our bodies down. When we exhale, we're releasing some of the toxins. And when we inhale, we're rejuvenating our mind and body with some oxygen. Here's the issue, friends. Being an educator is intense, demanding, rewarding, but also unpredictable. And this unpredictability can give us a superpower, but it can also cause something called hypervigilance. And that's what we can do. Counter that with some breath work, calm our nervous systems down. So let's just start just a moment. I just invite you to just sort of feel your feet solidly on the ground. And just maybe sit up in your chair just a little bit. And then I like to put my right hand just right here and push in a little on my chest. We're going to breathe in through our nose and exhale through our mouth. And you are invited to close your eyes if you would like to. So let's take 3 deep breaths right here. 1, 2, the last one, maybe the deepest breath of the day. Thank you. Wow, that was lovely, right? So let's go back to that question. What 2 words describe how you feel now? Do you feel any different? Any shifts? Or maybe it's the same, no right or wrong answers. Let's hear from the chat how you might be feeling right now. I know I felt my body like calm down a little bit. Looking at my iWatch, my heart rate has gone down. Just taking a few seconds to do some breath work. And I'm sure some of you are already doing something like that, but that's a practice I like to do just when I get in front of my computer for the day. Just take a moment of 3 deep breaths. Before I eat lunch, 3 deep breaths. Maybe it's a hard class or a hard meeting. Just doing that small micro moment of breath work, of mindfulness can really help us. Love that. I'm feeling a bit more centered. Gratitude, yes. Awareness shifts. I can hear it in my voice. Just calm down just a little bit. Already, all right. Mhm. Sometimes in the busyness of the day, we can feel like we don't even have a time to take a breath. Have anybody ever said that before? Not even a time to take a breath. To be intentional with that and really care for ourselves by taking a moment. And switching gears just a little bit, I want to talk to you and see if this may be one of the reasons why you're here. All right. So it could be, and first of all, just tell me if 1, 2, or 3 really resonates with you in the chat. So maybe you're already doing SEL, social emotional learning in the class or school, and you love it. So you're just here, hey, I just want to hear some more about it. Or maybe it's number 2. You know SEL can help, but you aren't quite sure where to start. Or maybe it's number 3, you aren't sure what SEL is, but you've heard a lot about it, and so you're just curious. No right or wrong answers, just 1, 2, or 3, if any of those ring true for you. What brought you here today? Because I know some of you are already doing some amazing things in social emotional learning. All right. Love to hear that. So beneficial. Absolutely. Yeah. Well, just know that whatever your reason for being here today, I'm glad you are, and you're in the right place. Thank you for taking this time. And I'm so grateful that you're here. So I invite you to really be in this moment. I've taken a lot of webinars myself. I know that, oh, it can be so painful. We put a lot of thought into making sure that this is engaging, and you're going to leave with these 3 secrets and strategies. So I invite you to do your part and to stay focused and to turn off your distractions. If you're like me, the phone is always there. There's a lot of different multitasking going on, but let's just give ourselves this gift for this next 50 minutes of being right here in this moment. Yeah. All right, I'm going to tell you just a little bit about my why. So, who's this former principal and why is she talking to us about social and emotional learning? Well, I knew nothing about it many years ago. And let me tell you why I teach it now. Because I know firsthand the huge difference that SEL can make in your life, in your school, in your classroom, in your students' life. It dramatically changed mine and my school. And I have been fortunate enough to be able to travel around and talk to thousands of other educators who have stories like the power of social and emotional learning and the impact it's made for them and their students. So it is how I want to serve the world now, is to really bring this message of social and emotional learning. So how I came to know about it is the little bit of the story. So I started as a principal in 2009 in Portland, Oregon. I was one of those principals who had no idea what they were doing, but was hired as a principal to sort of turn around an underperforming school. In reality, I was a stressed out principal and I was in way over my head. Anybody relate to that? Our school was really struggling. Doesn't that sound like the place you put a new principal, right? And I was struggling. And then in my second year as a principal, we had a crisis of the school fire during the school day. So yes, that's my school. I'll let you know right now that everyone survived that fire, which was started, we think, by an electrical fire, but everybody was very impacted. And in fact, we had to move out of our school for over 3 years to a school about 5 miles down the road. For me, it was a pivot point in my life. Do you know those times in your life when your life is really defined by what happened before an event and what happened after an event? Like you just remember those two, that kind of a split of your life. That was what this was like for me. Well, having to move to another school for 3 years, during that time, myself and a lot of our staff members got together to decide we wanted to do things different. What if we could sort of redefine school? And we didn't really have a school left. So it gave us this sort of blank slate to do school differently. And we decided we really wanted to focus on social and emotional learning as sort of a way to bring the community back together, a healing, if you will. Well, we started with SEL for the students and quickly realized we were leaving some people behind, AKA the educators. We were all struggling ourselves. We had been through this moment ourselves. And we needed to tend to the well-being of everybody, including our community too. We had to broaden our lens of social and emotional learning. And we did. So we began to laser focus on social and emotional learning. And over time, we did this for more than a decade, we had some amazing results. 75% reduction in office referrals, about a 50% reduction in suspension days, and a huge increase in overall happiness. Now, I don't want to say this was easy or quick, and we made a lot of mistakes along the way. But here's the amazing thing. This story, our story, does not stop with the trauma. In fact, it became about the rise. It became about the power of community and positive culture and connection as a way to transform the school. It was not about what I originally thought was, how do we raise our test scores? It was really about, how do we create this community where everyone can thrive? And oh, by the way, our scores went up anyway. Isn't that just amazing? So thank you Thank you for coming, and thank you for taking a moment to kind of hear my story. So, after experiencing that and seeing what could happen a few years ago, that's when I decided I really want to share this message with the world. Really, we have kind of gotten off track in regards to education, and we have to bring the focus back on social and emotional learning. Pre-COVID, I couldn't get that many people to listen about that. But now there is a huge movement in social and emotional learning. And I'm very excited about that. All right. So, what is social and emotional learning? Anybody want to put some, let me hear from you in the chat. What do you think of when you think about what is social and emotional learning? A lot of different definitions out there. So, the kind of official one, if you will, is SEL, social and emotional learning, is about really these big areas, these 5 areas. It's thought of the process through which children and adults acquire, apply this attitude and skills in these 5 areas. However, as you look through this, you can see that's a lot. Like, what does that even mean? Self-management, self-awareness, decision-making, relationship skills, social awareness. And so as I try to think about like, how do we really simplify the importance of this? I really think of it about being a good human. SEL plays a significant role in us becoming better human beings by promoting the development of essential skills and qualities that contribute to personal and interpersonal growth. We become more aware, more empathetic, more regulated, better able to communicate. I've kind of heard it put kinder, calmer, and clearer. And I love that message. How to be a good human, how to be kinder. Who can argue with that? So that's really what we're talking about, putting our intention in that area. So why? Why do we need to do that? Well, our students are really struggling. Schools are struggling. Educators are struggling. From the ongoing impact of COVID, remote learning, disruptions, lack of routines and connections, to political battles that are now a central feature of education, often leaving us educators in the crosshairs. And our students are struggling, especially our most marginalized students. Right now, some of the latest data tells us that about 50% of our students are reporting feeling depressed, stressed, or anxious. That wasn't the number when I was in school. Now, granted, we didn't talk about it as much, but it certainly wasn't as prevalent as what we see right now. Lots of emotions, lots of stressed out schools, stressed out students, and stressed out educators. It reminds me of one of our teachers who said to me not too long ago that I was working with that her 2nd grade students were behaviorally and emotionally more like kindergartners. Put a yes in the chat if you feel like that is true also. It's almost like the nation as a whole is in a place similar to where we were as a school. And so how do we do that rise? How do we heal? How do we get really the focus on community and connection? So what do we know about social and emotional learning? Well, the data is clear, improves achievement, increases pro-social behaviors, improves attitudes, and reduces depression and stress among students. There is a lot of research there. More and more is coming all the time about the importance of social and emotional learning. So let's get going, shall we? If you're ready to go, put in the chat, let's go. Yeah. I know, I bring a lot of excitement. I get really excited about social emotional learning, and I love to talk about it. So here we go. 3 secrets to start your year with social emotional learning, even if you have no time, because I know time is so hard for us to come by. So friends, I'm going to also talk to you about mistakes that I made and then leave you with strategies, as I think that is all very important. Let's hear what the secret is. Let's talk about a mistake, and let's talk about a strategy moving forward. But here's what I'm going to ask you. Stay with me till the end, because my very last strategy, the third strategy, is going to be focused on you, the adult. So it's a story I heard a few years ago, and it really was a game changer for me. So that's my little teaser. Stay with me till the end. All right. Secret number 1. Are you ready? Here we go. You probably already know this. Half of all students don't feel connected to school. And I say secret because even though we may internally know that, the data proves that out. That I think it's right around 51% now do not feel connected. So as we are preparing to welcome back our students for this year, it's crucial that we focus on belonging, that they know and feel like they are a part of something, a part of a community. When this happens, they're much more likely to excel academically and have more engagement and motivation. We all know that, right? Well, I didn't know it at first. So here's my mistake. Are you ready for this? Jumping right into academics at the start of the school day. So because I had thought about we were so far behind, we could not waste a minute. We had to get going. The bell rang, and I was like, let's go, let's go, let's go. My intention was good, right? The kids were behind academically. Let's take every moment we can. The problem was this prioritized academics over relationships and belonging and community. And we know those are the drivers to healthy schools. Not getting started right away. So the strategy that we're going to talk about is something I call the soft start. Soft start. Say that to yourself. Soft start. It's a strategy that really takes into effect the humanity of something, starting in a slow way. This morning connection time is a time to build community in a non-stressful, calm, and engaging environment. It offers students a chance to connect, express themselves, and feel like they matter. Building this relationship in this way. It's kind of like an anchor for the school day. Well, let me tell you a little bit about what ours used to look like pre-SEL. So before we implemented it, all the kids were in the cafeteria. We all had free breakfast. The bell rang, hallway chaos. The second they got in the room, if I wasn't barking at them in the hallway to get going, teachers were very busy, and we got started on something called bell ringers. Anybody ever heard of those? Get started, usually with some kind of math. The vibe with that is something is wrong with you. Let's fix it. And that was the vibe we were seeing. After we began to really think about social and emotional learning, we realized we had it wrong. We needed to have a soft start. We changed our morning routine. All of our classrooms did this. This looked like teachers at the door welcoming students with smile and warmth, and all of us in the hallway doing the same thing. Classroom environment, calm and clear and routines. Many of our teachers had soft music playing and soft lighting playing in the background. And they did a community building activity first. So the vibe was, we're glad you're here. You matter. Now, which one of those classrooms would you want to be in? Or would you want your child to be in? So, strategy number one, begin the day with a soft start. Begin the day with a soft start. Creating community, relationships, and belonging. So, now time for the chat. Let me hear from you. Tell us about your morning routine. Now, you're probably not calling it soft start. You may have something you call a morning meeting or circle time, pardon me, or homeroom. Tell us about your morning routine. Mm, thank you for the honesty. Yep. Many of us can relate to that. Oh, I love that. So building that community in the morning, yes. Power up. S- Responsive classroom, yes. So all of that community building really pays off in a thousand different ways. But I have seen, and my experience has been schools waiting to do some sort of community building, some even doing it at the end of the day. And we really want to greet students with this sense of community, this vibe of you belong versus this vibe of you're behind, get started. That's kind of the shift. Mhm. Oh, I love it. School-wide SEL activity. Yep. I've run across several schools that are doing that every day. Some do it once a week. Some are doing it every day during the homeroom time. It's funny, there was this movement kind of moving away from homeroom, and now it seems to be there's this movement of moving back towards homeroom. As we know, kids need this place of connection. Oh, I love that. Positive affirmations. Absolutely. Definitely social emotional learning right there. I am smart. I am special. All right. Are you ready to go with number two? Remember, we have three. Hmm. Thank you, Kim. Yes. I like that idea of genuine, like this authentic um, feeling of we are glad you're here, that you're in this class. Well, let's get started with our second one, shall we? Okay, friends, here we go. Secret number two, drum roll. Many students come to school unprepared to learn. Maybe you know this, I'm sure you did, but to really think about it for a moment. Now, coming unprepared doesn't mean just coming without homework or not bringing the right books or notebooks or writing utensils. It may mean students are coming not ready to learn physically. Maybe they're dysregulated. Maybe their emotional responses are out of sync with situations. Maybe they feel irritable, bursts of anger. Maybe they're tired, exaggerate, cry, a lot of movement. Now, this may be true of students with special needs, but we're not only talking about students with special needs, where we're having a lot of people coming dysregulated in the morning. Some of the reasons, or many of the reasons, are out of control of the students, right? It could be this inconsistent morning routines. Some don't have access to breakfast. Some have long bus rides. Some even have to get themselves or their younger siblings ready in the mornings. I think we've all heard those stories. And then there's we as the adults can also come to school unprepared for the day. Does that ever happen to anybody? Having our own issues, right? Perhaps our own child was struggling with getting dressed in the morning, or perhaps we had a disagreement with our partners, or maybe we just woke up late or don't feel well. All of that we want to take into consideration. Furthermore, if a student has been exposed to chronic stress or had some more traumatic experiences, this can fundamentally change how the brain develops. One can think of it like the lower part of the brain, which governs responses to anxiety and threats, receives more of a workout because there might be a lot of threats going. Meanwhile, the parts of the brain associated with impulse control and decision making gets less of a workout, if you will. So one of the ways that we can support students in this is to help them build their emotional regulation, a way to empower and build self-agency, a sense of calmness and awareness, and that they can manage their emotions, a regulatory practice. So, mistake I made, you could probably guess, not doing a regulatory practice at the start of a school day. Something we added though, but not starting that way. So you're behind, get going. Well, knowing that our kids come to us in all kinds of different states, we're in all kinds of different emotional states, that we can come together and do a regulatory practice. So I'm going to talk to you just a little bit about that, and then we'll open up to the chat to see what you're doing. So a few years ago, I was fortunate enough to hear Dr. Bruce Perry, one of the leading experts in the connection of neuroscience and learning and trauma. And he was speaking on brain-based learning effects of kids that have had traumatic experiences. He was talking about the importance of regulation in the morning, and especially for schools to support all students in some sort of regulation practice. In other words, part of our responsibility is to help kids learn to regulate themselves. I remember he said, all schools in the future will do a morning regulatory practice. In his words, the evidence was clear that we needed this on a daily basis. I was so proud of our school because we had already started doing some sort of breathing. And that was one of the options for regulatory practice. So specifically, we did something called a mindful moment, moments of breath work. That's how we fix that mistake. This practice involves setting aside a few minutes before direct instruction to cultivate this sense of calm, focus, and positivity. Help students start their day with clear and focused mind. It can enhance their overall well-being, improve their ability to handle challenges that they may face during the day. So it was interesting over time to see how the power of that practice build on itself. It was also good for the adults too, not just the students. Now, why do I recommend doing it before direct instruction? Because stress blocks learning. Write that down. Stress blocks learning. When students are stressed, they can't learn. So it's better if we help them deal with some of that before going into direct instruction. moving from a part of our brain called the amygdala into a part of our brain called the prefrontal cortex. Now, it can be a formal practice. In the trainings that I do with schools, I teach them all how to do this and how to follow a script and to do a chime about 15 minutes into their day. And don't worry, that's not a true picture. We didn't have the kids sitting on their desk. Not that there's anything wrong, but we didn't do that. But today, what I want to talk to you about is some informal practices. And I want to just give you a few of these that you can do. So the first one is 3 big breaths. That's what we did at the beginning. You don't have much time. Just invite the students to feel a sense of calm, put their hand on their heart, invitation to close their eyes. We don't make them do that, but they can't disrupt others. And just take 3 big breaths. And seeing you model that, super helpful. The second one is called volcano breaths. I bet some of you have seen this one. You put your hands like this, right? And you breathe in and breathe out. Do that with me. Breathe in and breathe out. And then the third one, we want to go really slow. And then we lower our voice. And it's amazing how they just lean into the conversation. And then the final one I wanted to show you is something called a breathing ball. Anybody see this before? So this is something you can just get on Amazon and you just breathe in. Let's see, and breathe out. It's coming up a little funky for some reason, but it's a little bit of a breathing ball. There we go. And for some kiddos, having this visual is super impactful of just seeing them and having them slow down and breathe with that, especially as kids got pretty stressed or upregulated. Some of them would ask for that little breathing ball. So the strategy is doing a morning mindful moment, some sort of regulatory practice. That was a game changer for us. We all did that, all of our students, every day. And over time, we were able to build the muscles where we had much less issues going on, much better calm, much better focus, much better sense of agency and feeling of empowered as kids came back into their bodies. It was a beautiful thing to see. So here's my chat for you. I want to hear from you. Do you have some sort of regulatory practice? What does it look like? I showed you one through breathing. There's also several you can do through movement, affirmations, things like that. But just let me hear from you for a minute. What are some you may be using in your classroom or school? Oh, well, started school early, yeah. Mm. As you're typing this in, I will tell you that at first there was a little resistance with our students, but over time they grew to really love this. In fact, so much that when they had a substitute, if the substitute forgot to do a mindful moment, the students would remind them. They're like, don't forget, we do a mindful moment right now. Oh, I love that, Amy. Yes. I remember one of our students was telling me, he was an 8th grader and he played baseball, and he was telling me he would use breath work to when he was pitching as a way to help him calm down. Especially, he said, when he got 3 balls on somebody, he didn't want to walk them. I was so proud of him. But that's just the sense of agency that the kids were building as they became more confident in their abilities to be in control of their own bodies. And feel free, I'll share my email at the end. Reach out to me and I'll be glad to share even some more strategies. And I'll be showing some more of those on Instagram and in a Facebook group that I'm going to talk to you about here at the end. Yes, quiet moment. The music, super impactful. So remember, we've talked about soft start, right? Building the community, creating belonging. And then we talked about, okay, now we can do a mindful moment. What a difference in starting the day. I really think that was one of the biggest things. The morning and the focusing on the adults that really helped transform the school. All right. Well, I promised you that I would make sure I had a strategy in there for the adults. Let's go. Should we talk about it? Here we go. Secret number 3, SEL includes the adults. SEL includes the adults. Yes, I remember talking about that years ago, and people were like, what? What is adult SEL? You would even Google it and nothing would come up. But now people are starting to finally understand the importance of caring for the well-being of the educator. Now, what's the mistake we made? Well, I didn't know that. I began by implementing a student SEL curriculum and ignoring the adults. Last time I did a survey on this question, about 20% of the schools were doing some sort of adult SEL. That's all, 20%. Not a very high number. So 80% we're not talking about that. But what percentage of schools have stress? Educators have stress? All of them. That's the same, no matter what schools I work with. So we have to begin to focus on this. All right, let me talk to you a little bit about stress and why that stress matters, and then I'm going to finish with the strategy. So friends, the global pandemic, political divisiveness, school safety, all of this has forever changed the responsibility of us educators. We feel the weight of this. In fact, a report came out in 2022 by Rand Corporation that found teachers and principals report frequent job-related stress at twice the rate of the general population. So if you go home and you tell your family or your friends or your partner, hey, my job is twice as stressful as yours, you're right. Now you have the data to back that up. The research also reveals well-being is especially challenging for our teachers and principals of color, mid-career teachers, and female educators, that it's even another layer of stress. But why does it matter? Right? So education's hard. Teachers are stressed. Why does that even matter? Well, let me talk to you about why stress matters. It's always interesting when I hear a non-educator say, why do we even care? Yeah, jobs are stressful. But it really matters. When we are stressed, it increases our reactivity. Small things become big things. Do you ever come home and your partner was supposed to do the dishes and they weren't done? Why'd you left the dishes out? Right? This overreaction. It's because we're stressed. It can be hard for us to make a decision, something called decision fatigue. Do you ever come home and say, I don't know, I'm even too tired. I don't know what we're going to eat. It's going to be DoorDash again. Or it can also make us feel like we don't have space to learn new things. How many of us just want to come home and put on the Netflix series Succession and know what happened at the end of that? Who succeeded him? Because we're just so tired, that's all we can do. Or how about this scenario? There's going to be a party on Saturday night and you're like, yeah, I'm going. It's Monday. Tuesday, you're still going. Wednesday, you're not sure. Thursday, probably not. And by Friday, you're like, no way. I am too tired. I am not going to get out of my elastic pants and get dressed up and go to a party. I'm not going to do that. All of this is because of this chronic high stress. Now, I'm not talking about, one stress and then down. We all have that. A little bit of stress is good for us. No, I'm talking about this idea of chronic stress that's always there. So here's what we have to do. We have to figure out how to let the stress come down, to not stay up here all the time. That's exactly what I did before I started learning about all of this. Is I would stay chronically stressed, and it looked like high blood pressure. Anybody relate to that? A lot of stress. So you're ready for your challenge? I mean, you're ready for your strategy? All right, here we go. Strategy number 3, the final one. Put the glass down. Can you say that to yourself? Put the glass down. Helps us remember things when we say it out loud. With all of the challenges educators are facing right now, and what the data tells us about frequent stress, it is important for us to prioritize our own mental health. We cannot put it on the back burner in service of the school or the students or our classroom, like I did for many, many years. I wish the system as a whole held us educators better, but we cannot wait. We deserve it now to care for ourselves now. So I want to share this quick little story. It's something I heard years ago, and I've never forgotten it. I'm not sure where it originally came from, but I heard it told to me by another principal, and I never forgot it. So I'm going to show you this glass of water. Can you see this glass of water okay? Yes. And I'm going to say to you, probably you think, is this half empty or half full? That's not what I'm going to say. I'm going to say, how heavy is this water? You might say 4 ounces, 6 ounces, 8 ounces. But here's the thing. The weight itself doesn't matter. It's how long I hold it. That's what matters most. If I have to hold it for an hour, my arm's going to hurt, right? If I had to hold it for multiple hours, gosh, my arm may even become like paralyzed. What if I had to hold it all night? I'm going to drop the glass. The longer I hold it, the heavier it becomes. The stress of this job can feel like that glass of water. Think about it. A little bit of worry about the job, and we can kind of figure out how to let it go. But when we hold it all night, when we're waking up in the middle of the night, when we're checking our emails really late at night, all of this means that we're holding the glass. That is not what we want to do. We want to put the glass down and come home to the second part of our day, leaving work at work. Now, I know you're saying, Lana, this sounds like a great idea, but it's not really reasonable. Well, figuring out how to make it reasonable in your life is a really important strategy. So for me, this is how it worked. And I'll just share if you may or may not be able to do something like this. But what I decided is I was going to have a hard stop at 6 o'clock with schoolwork. Now, if something special was happening, that wasn't always 100% true, but about 90% of the time that was true. I was done. When I closed my computer, I put the glass down. So what I then decided to do is I got up a little early the next morning and opened my computer up again and got caught up with emails before I went to work. Here's what I realized. When I did my email late at night, guess what? It was never an email that said, oh, you're so great. It was always a problem. So it got me going on this cycle. So I felt like I took control of my life back by having this boundary of putting the glass down. So let me hear from you. Our final chat, I'd like to hear from all of you. What is your end of work routine? What do you do? What do you do to remind yourself, I'm going home now. I'm going to be done with work. We want to be able to come into the fullness of our life after work, to do fun things, to enjoy ourselves, to find the beauty in nature and the gratitude of our lives. And having a stop time can help us be able to step into that again. Yes, good. Awesome. Yes. And I, as the principal, I had to realize my staff didn't want to hear from me late at night. Do you? Do you want to hear from your teachers out there? Do you want to hear from your principal late at night? No. So I had to learn not to do that myself. We wanted to, as a community, value well being in people. And here's what we found out. I know people like, oh, then the job's going to slip or whatever. It wasn't that at all. It was the opposite. We got better at what we did because we had more energy, more love, more happiness when it didn't like suck our soul dry from the stress of the job. All right, friends, we're going to close it out here. Just a couple more slides I have. If you'd like to stop figuring it out all by yourself, if you would just allow me just a moment to say, I love to do coaching. I'm helping several schools around the country. So I'll give you my email here if you're interested in some one-on-one or small group coaching with a social and emotional team that you might have at your school. I also do keynotes. Right now, I'm focusing on the adult SEL pieces where I talk about strategies for stress reduction, especially through the lens of mindfulness. That title is Best Year Yet. I help schools that really bring adult SEL. And then probably what I do the most of is called my Blueprint School-Wide series. And that is where I work with schools around the country, bringing a 5-part SEL sessions. It is based on the book, like Brad said, that is coming out in March. And I walk you through these 5 different sessions. And here's what's really unique about this. The first 2 sessions, we focus on the adults, how we can really work through the adults to really grow in our awareness of stress, what it does to our bodies, and learn some really helpful stress reduction strategies before then going into student SEL in sessions 3 and 4, and then finishing with a small session for the SEL team. And I usually do 2 of those in person, and I do 3 of those online. That's the end of the commercial. Thank you for listening to that. So here's what I'd like for you to do. I think I'm going to put a link in here. Step 1, please join our Facebook group. We're just getting that up and going. I'm super excited about that. It's at UnlockingSEL. And then step 2, to just join our email list. Feel free to go to the website. It'll pop right up to join the email list. I'm going to start sending that out on a monthly basis of all things SEL. Take a moment. Step 1, find the Facebook group. Step 2, join the email list. Got that? Take a little screenshot of that. All right, and there's the QR code again with my email down there at the bottom. Please don't hesitate to reach out. Hey, we're 5 minutes early. Look at us. Woohoo! Thank you so much. I hope you found this helpful today. And don't forget the 3 strategies, especially put the glass down.
Absolutely.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much for joining. And again, I'm really excited about your book, and I love the strategies that you had. I'm looking forward to the adult SEO component, which is not talked about enough. And, as she said, there are great resources out there, and that's how you can continue the journey with you. So I want everyone to have a great night, and we look forward to seeing you next time. All right. Thanks, everyone.